It's Friday the 13th of February from the MEN newsroom. This is Channel M's Lunchtime News and these are today's headlines. Learn from our mistakes. A schoolboy warns of the dangers of building sites after his friend falls to his death.
Yeah, just while you're bored, just don't go into scaffoldings, go to like youth clubs and play football, just do good stuff. Don't go to more mischief.
Also coming up, low on funds. The charities here in Greater Manchester having to dip into their own reserves.
We have seen some of our donations drop off. We have noticed a few problems up at our charity shop, which is situated in Bilmslow Road, that we're not getting the number of donations being brought into the shop for us to sell.
And why a trip to the cinema ended up costing this woman £100.
I feel £100 is extortionate, especially when the car park is £6 a day. Films don't finish until just before 11. They know, people are going to get locked in.
Good afternoon. First, a warning to children about the dangers of building sites from a teenager who knows only too painfully the dangers they pose. Conor McCloy from Openshaw speaking out after one of his friends died when they both fell through the roof of a derelict shop. Kevin Duffy's been to meet him.
Teenager Conor McCloy quietly remembers as he revisits the scene of the accident which killed his friend and could easily have killed him also. 14-year-old Daniel Sukajian suffered fatal head injuries after falling through the roof of a derelict shop on Ashton Old Road in Openshaw. Conor escaped with a broken arm. At
first, we was just messing about on a scaffolding, like racing up it. And then a security guard came and then we just tried to get away from him. He was halfway down and then we fell for a roof and then...
Today, he accepted that he shouldn't have been there and urged other teenagers not to make the same mistake.
Yeah, just don't do stuff. Just before you do anything, think about what could happen. I know you don't think anything would happen to you, but just think.
Conor McCloy has recovered from his injuries now, but he admits that he's learned a very important lesson, the very hardest of ways, which is simply that warehouse roofs are not playgrounds.
Yeah, just while you're bored, just don't go into scaffoldings, go to like youth clubs and play football, just do good stuff. Don't go to more mischief.
Sadly, Daniel Sukajian isn't the first young person to die like this, and even more tragically, he probably won't be the last either. But it's just possible that by his friend Conor McCloy speaking out in this way today, he's done just a little bit to reduce the chances of it happening to somebody else. I'm Kevin Duffy for Channel M News.
A former girlfriend of the so-called Facebook fugitive says she feared he would one day commit murder. She's been speaking after George Appleton was found hanging in a derelict building by police searching for him after a woman was found dead in Salford. Nina Warhurst has the story now of a woman who knows only too well Appleton's history of violence against women.
George Appleton ruined my life after I split with him. He wouldn't leave me alone. His stalking turned violent when he broke into my house in the middle of the night and held me hostage at knife point for 8 hours, until I said I'd marry him and we'd have a family.
Jackie Marshall met George Appleton in 1996. They dated for 4 years before they split and he began bombarding her with up to 70 calls a night. About 18 months ago, Appleton introduced Jackie to Claire Wood on a social networking site. Jackie said that she warned Claire Wood that Appleton was dangerous, but Claire said that she loved him and that she believed that he'd changed. But on Friday, her body was found here at her home in Salford. She'd been strangled and burned.
I can't believe he's gone after all these years living in fear. I feel so relieved, but sick with guilt, because I knew he was capable of this. And I'll always wonder if I could do more.
George Appleton had a long history of violence against women. In 2001, he was jailed for breaching a restraining order, and once again in 2002 for aggravated burglary. Appleton contacted women through social networking sites, and once again, experts are advising to be careful when making friends online. Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
49 people are dead after a commuter plane crashed into a house in the state of New York. A fireball erupted as it came down, killing all 48 people on board and one person on the ground. The Continental Connection flight was on its way from Newark to New Jersey, to Buffalo Airport when it came down 10 miles short. 12 homes nearby had to be evacuated. People living there have spoken of the whole sky lighting up orange and hearing a big bang. Some say it was much louder than normal. Air accident investigators are there. More than 5,000 jobs are in doubt at two shoe shops. The firm which owns Barrett's and Priceless is to be put into administration. The two chains themselves have been in administration since late last month, but now bosses at Stylo have failed to sort out problems with their creditors and landlords. Former shareholders in Northern Rock have lost a court battle against a ruling which they say will mean their shares are valued at nothing. It follows the government's takeover of the troubled bank when thousands of customers pulled their money out of their accounts. A compensation plan for them has been drawn up, which has decided that their stakes are now worthless, something that they've been disputing. Some of Greater Manchester's charities say they're having to dip into their cash reserves because of falling donations. 2/5 have told a survey they've had less money in the past 3 months. A charity for the homeless here in Manchester is one of those that's suffering.
Barnabas is a Christian-based charity which was formed in 1991. We work mainly out on the streets. We have a soup kitchen, an outreach vehicle and a mobile medical unit. We feed and supply clothing and various items that people require. In the current credit crunch, we have seen some of our donations drop off. We have noticed a few problems up at our charity shop, which is situated in Wilmslow Road, that we're not getting the number of donations being brought into the shop for us to sell. Charities are going to have to work more together, I think, in raising funds, do joint events. As for the general pot, I think there will be a drop in funding that's being given to organisations, and I think that we are going to have to be a little more imaginative in the way we do raise our fundings.
An Italian restaurant which posed a huge potential for food contamination has been fined nearly £10,000. The family-run Bella Roma on Portland Street in Manchester city centre was so dirty last August it shut down for 24 hours for an emergency cleaning operation. The restaurant admitted 3 counts under the Food Hygiene Act. Burglars have broken into a house in Wigan and stolen medication meant for a patient with cancer. The potentially lethal drugs were taken along with jewellery from the property in Ashton in Makerfield. Police say the drugs could cause serious damage to someone not used to their strength. Australian police have charged a man over the bushfires there that have killed 181 people. A 39-year-old is accused of deliberately starting one of the blazes in Victoria, which have been branded mass murder by the country's Prime Minister. If convicted, he could be jailed for up to 25 years. It's now been confirmed one of those to have perished was a mother from here in Britain. A telethon has been held in Australia with big names including Nicole Kidman, Shane Warne and Orlando Bloom helping to raise money for the victims. Manchester has been named one of the best places in the country to be a student alongside others, including Newcastle and Sheffield. 38,000 reviews of university cities have been compared. They show higher ratings for those universities up here in the north rather than down south. We've been asking students what they think so good about round here.
I think they're socially a lot better. There seems to be more student nights on. When I've been to visit people in southern unis, it's just not as good. And I'm from the south as well, and I think that the unis up here are better.
Well, you've got the city, you've got all the shops in the city and stuff like that. You've got good nights out, and you've got the academies, which are brilliant for live music.
I think that Manchester is the best place to be a student because basically there's anything that you want to do. If you like R&B, if you like indie, it's like places to go. And also, there's so many resources for anything. You've got the library, and it's a really good place to be.
One of the biggest events in Salford's sporting calendar has been scrapped for the year. The council's failed to reach an agreement with the International Triathlon Unit, but it's hoped the triathlon will return next year. It's bad news for one athlete from Worsley who finished 3rd last time it was held in Salford.
I'm really gutted that it's not going to be held in Salford, to be honest. I mean, they had the Commonwealth Games there. It's a great venue. There've been several World Cup level races held there. And it just seems a shame that it's going to lose it this year because the Olympics is being held in London in 2012. The docks are perfect for staging a swim, so it attracts all the best athletes from across the world. And I love it because it's close to home, and that's the reason I wanted to take part in it. I think it's being held in London this year because that's where the Olympics is going to take place in 2012, so the idea is to give the athletes a trial run, a tester of the course before they compete there. It attracts a lot of visitors to the region. It's like one of the major tourist events that's held throughout the year, and great publicity for Salford as a city, positive publicity because it don't get much of that, and it's just a great event.
Time now for the day's sporting headlines, and starting with news of a man making all the headlines at Manchester City.
Thank you, James. That's right. 19-year-old Daniel Sturridge has been told by boss Mark Hughes he's in danger of pricing himself out of a contract after his advisors were believed to have demanded the striker be paid £65,000 a week. That's an increase of £20,000 on his current contract. Hughes is adamant the club will not be held to ransom by any player. We believe Chelsea are just one of the clubs watching the situation with interest. Staying with the Blues, Mark Hughes has warned supporters not to expect a repeat of the 6-0 scoreline tomorrow when City travel to Fratton Park to face Portsmouth.
I anticipate it'll be the same result. In fact, we'd love it to be at the same level, but I mean, they've changed the manager, obviously, and that can have a positive or a negative effect in the short term. So it's always a difficult place to go, Fratton Park. Everybody understands that, whatever the circumstances leading into the game. So they have great support, a lot of backing, and obviously they may feel their backs against the wall that everybody has to pull together, and that will be something that we'll have to deal with. So it's not an easy fixture for us, but like I said, we're playing well at the moment, so we're looking forward to it.
Meanwhile, Gus Poyet looks set to take over from Joe Kinnear at Newcastle United. Following the news, Kinnear will undergo triple heart bypass surgery later today. Wigan travel to Hull this evening, looking for their first Super League win, but will have to do without the suspended Richie Mathers, while the home side are expected to hand starts to Mark Calderwood and Chris Thorman. Switching codes to Union, and third-placed Sale Sharks face league leaders Gloucester at Kingsholm tomorrow, knowing a win would put them in first place. But head coach Kingsley Jones isn't taking anything for granted.
It's a great place to go and play rugby, and we need to thrive on that and feed on the environment. If you have a strong referee, then we're in with a good chance, and just looking forward to going there, excited about it, and putting up a challenge, you know, and on the back of the way we performed against Worcester.
I mean, we've had a few games this season, Heineken Cup and things like that, where we haven't performed. So in actual fact, it's the confidence that I think we want to get within ourselves to make sure that we can go out, play the type of game that Sale Sharks can play, and whoever the opposition is, will obviously try defend as best as they can, but we know what we want to do, and that's what we're focusing on.
You know, we got to believe that we can win there, because a lot of sides don't believe that. And the first thing we must do, everybody, is believe that we can win there. I believe we can win there. I've played there for them and lost, and it's achievable. As I said, the referee will have a big impact in the game. He needs to be strong. But if we go there with the right attitude and the belief, with a good referee, we can get a win. But it'll never ever be easy at Kingsholm, so we know it's going to be a massive challenge.
England looks set to ring the changes for the second test against the West Indies today, with Owen Shah, Graham Swan and James Anderson all expected to start as England looks set to level the series. And finally, good luck to the Manchester Phoenix, who take a 5-2 lead into their National Cup semi-final second leg against the Basingstoke Bison. That's at the Altrincham Ice Dome on Sunday. That's it from me for now, but please try and join Sam Goodman, who will be here with all your early evening news from 5 o'clock.
Mike, thank you very much for the update this lunchtime. Still to come on Friday's lunchtime news, the new health checks starting in Gorton, and with Valentine's Day just a few hours away, we're speaking to one couple who are looking for a new home. These aren't lovebirds, they're love bunnies.
Boris and Thelma, they're two up-eared rabbits that have recently found love with one another. They were both brought in separately, and they fell in love whilst they were boarding with us, and now they're a pair and they're looking for a home together.
This is Friday's Lunchtime News. Welcome back. Don't forget, you can always go online whenever you want to catch up on our latest headlines at channelm.co.uk. Right now, there's reaction from a cancer patient to a new life-saving drug being given approval to be used. And you can also hear unions attacking plans to force further cuts on Greater Manchester's fire service. That's at channelm.co.uk. Now, a trip to the cinema can sometimes be pretty pricey, but for one woman in Altrincham, a film cost her £100. Georgia Calvin-Smith has the story.
Big sign over there that says low-cost parking. I didn't fail to see the sign that says £100 fine. It's not very clear.
Rowena Finn is livid. Earlier this week, she and friends headed out to the Apollo Cinema in Altrincham to watch a film. They each paid £8.50 for their ticket, but their decision to park at the Goose Green car park opposite forced each driver to fork out another £100 because their film ended at 10:45, whilst the car park shut at 10:30.
There was about 6 or 7 of us who had our cars locked in the car park. There wasn't a telephone number to contact anyone to try and release our cars, so we were all stranded. So we all had to go home, come back in the morning to find we had a clamp on our car and we had to pay £100 to release it.
Now, although there are signs saying at what time the car park closes, a lot of drivers still get caught out. And Rowena thinks that's because of where they're placed, high above the entrance, just at the point when a lot of motorists are distracted by getting their ticket. And the sign telling people about the £100 fine for parking overnight is also pretty hard to spot, situated behind a fence to the far right of the entrance. It's not the first time the car park's been criticised for the lack of clarity of its policies and fines that many people feel are extortionate. Staff at the cinema say that people regularly get caught out. Actor Chris Bisson was with Rowena when she returned to collect her car the following morning. He also feels that the Goose Green car park is taking advantage of customers and that just because it can hold drivers to ransom doesn't mean that it should.
They should make it more clear, because the people that are doing the accounts are going, oh, we're getting a lot of fines in, aren't we? A lot of people are parking here overnight. Surely that tells them that there's a problem, and they've got, they should have a duty of care to the customers.
The management of the car park has refused to comment on its policies. Georgia Calvin-Smith, Channel M News.
A new programme is starting in Gorton to improve people's health and help them live longer. Medical experts are warning how cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the country.
We're launching a pilot of vascular screening checks. The Prime Minister last year announced that there would be a national programme, and what we're doing ahead of that national programme is piloting a scheme in pharmacists across Manchester. Today is the launch of it, and we're starting in one of the pharmacists here, but I say it's 35 pharmacists across Manchester, and we'll be offering people between 40 and 74 a check of their risk of getting vascular disease. Manchester has one of the highest rates of coronary heart disease in the country, and it's our biggest killer in Manchester. So if we can get to people before they actually develop heart disease, by checking their risk factors, we can help them to try and prevent it. A number of GPs already check people for their vascular risk factors, and this will be complementing that and seeing if we're getting people in pharmacists who don't actually attend their general practitioners.
Now, there's a rare opportunity from tomorrow to take a look at a collection of priceless drawings here in Manchester that are usually kept from public view in the Queen's private collection. The artworks by Leonardo da Vinci will be on show at the city's art gallery, and our very own King of Culture, Kevin Duffy, has been for a preview.
This collection of work by Leonardo da Vinci is beyond price, and it's usually beyond the reach of the man in the street, because these delicate drawings are normally preserved in the home of Her Majesty the Queen. But for just 10 weeks, they're on display at Manchester's Art Gallery, says Martin Clayton, Deputy Curator of the Print Room at Windsor Castle.
This is the fourth and final venue of an exhibition which has toured the UK, and after they've finished at Manchester, they'll be going back into the Royal Library at Windsor Castle, so it's last chance to see.
You know, you don't have to know anything at all about art to appreciate this Leonardo da Vinci exhibition. Just come along and have a look at the work. You're looking at drawings which are 500 years old, and they've been done by one of the most famous painters in history.
Well, I think everybody knows the name Leonardo da Vinci, but they may not really understand what he did during his lifetime. So what we've tried to do in this exhibition of just 10 drawings is to capture as many different aspects of his activity as we could. There are studies for painting and sculpture and architecture, maps, plant studies, portraits, grotesques, a pantomime horse, a pantomime dragon if you like, a landscape with a wonderful deluge. So many different and really quite easy to get into aspects of Leonardo's activity. So it's a very different sort of art exhibition that people might expect.
The Leonardo da Vinci exhibition is at Manchester Art Gallery until the 4th of May. And best of all, entry is free. The original Credit Crunch Day Out. Kevin Duffy for Channel M News.
Next, a story of true romance to warm the heart on the eve of Valentine's Day. It involves Boris and Thelma, who sadly can't find anywhere to live. So on this Friday the 13th, will it be a case of lucky or unlucky for some?
Got Boris and Thelma. They're two up-eared rabbits that have recently found love with one another. They were both brought in separately. One was found as a stray in Salford and another one came from another animal sanctuary that was overrun. And they fell in love whilst they were boarding with us, and now they're a pair and they're looking for a home together. Outdoor or indoor home would be absolutely fine, but they are slightly older rabbits, which is why they've been waiting for a home for over a year, because people aren't so keen to take on older pets.
Thelma's quite sweet. She loves people, but she was a bit of a terror with other rabbits. Like I say, she was very, very choosy. She was quite aggressive to some of the rabbits we picked for her. And Boris is just a gentle old man. He's very sweet. But he stuck up for himself with Thelma, and I think that's why she likes him.
If they're interested in giving Boris and Thelma a home, they can contact our office, which is 0161 882 0680, and they can come and visit Boris and Thelma. And if they want to take them home, then what we have to do first of all is a home visit before they go to their new home.
Well, staying with romance, Bertie Bassett has got married. The Licorice Sweet star has tied the knot at the ripe old age of 80 to his new sweetheart, Betty Bassett. You couldn't make this up. It's the first time he's been given a love interest. More than 60 factory workers from the Bassett plant turned out for the ceremony. It was organised to promote a new range of red sweets modelled on the lovely Betty herself. Now, forecasters say the big freeze that's brought almost 2 weeks of disruption is coming to an end, with details of a milder weekend. Here's Michelle Eagleton.
Well, we're seeing highs of between 5 and 6 for today. It was mainly dry and cloudy this morning. This afternoon, though, we are going to see some really nice weather. Lots of sunshine around, and also a very good day if you want to be romantic and start those Valentine's Day celebrations for tomorrow a wee bit early, because I can say that Saturday isn't going to be as nice as today. We're expecting a bit of rain for you. Sunday, it's going to dry up somewhat. Monday, unfortunately, that rain's on its way back, but Tuesday's looking very, very good. Highs of 9 degrees.
You're watching Channel M's Lunchtime News. Our main headlines this afternoon: a teenager who survived a fall through the roof of a derelict shop in Openshaw that killed his friend is appealing to other youngsters not to do the same thing. Conor McCloy broke his arm when he dropped 18 feet while trying to get away from a security guard. A former girlfriend of the so-called Facebook killer says she was worried he could turn into a murderer. Jackie Marshall has spoken out after the body of George Appleton was found hanging in a derelict building between Salford and Manchester. She says she feared for her own life after they split up. 49 people have been killed when a plane crashed into a house in Buffalo in New York State. That includes the 44 passengers on board, as well as 4 crew and 1 person on the ground. The flight came down 10 miles short of the nearby airport and engulfed the property in flames. We'll have more on all those stories in our early evening news with Andy Crane from 5 o'clock tonight. But for now, that's it from me and the rest of the Lunchtime team. Have a very good afternoon. Bye-bye for now.